We're back here on the John Fourcade Show. Another one of our John Fourcade specials this week, a 2015 Taurus SE, $19,990. Again, a 2015 Taurus SE, $19,990. Hey, the sticker price on it was $27,930. You won't find a better deal than right here at Veterans Ford. We're back here on the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford. And South Carolina found out a little bit about LSU this week. For a half, similar to the Saints and the Eagles, South Carolina hung with LSU pretty well. And then all of a sudden, John, second half, they turned loose Darius Geis and Leonard Fournette, and it was all over with after that.
You know, this packed house we had in here today, no, but you got to give LSU credit right here for the fans that came out, supported the issue that happened with South Carolina. But you were so
Darius Geis, over 150 yards rushing.
He is a heck of a backup to the guy who's probably going to win the Heisman this season.
And then Darrell Williams, the power back.
Yes, they just got so much. Let's give credit where credit's due. Look at this offensive line. And
this is a great throw, though, John. Just the timing of it.
You know, he's good at that, Mike. I've seen that's his best forte right now, is throwing a fade route to this young man inside. Got to work on his other game plan of throwing, but look
just
at this.
When you think that, you know, South Carolina had a shot, Fournette takes off, but look at the two safeties with an opportunity to have an angle on him, and they can't bring him down. That goes to show the speed of this big guy.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he's not the beast of the beast, here, there's a little replay here. Look at
but look, no one touches him. The most underrated part of LSU's team, their offensive line. John, that's a lot of times Fournette and Geis and Williams, they're running 3 and 4 yards downfield, not even getting touched. Taking nothing away from the backs, but that offensive line has done a great job.
Well, look at this good tight throw here with a tip ball. I would
sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good.
Look back at a Kentucky game years ago where they won a football game. But Mike, you're right. That offensive line in this game, 45-24. The offensive line, total yards 624. You and I can hold hand in hand and walk through that line the way these guys are blocking right now. And those two running backs that LSU have. Look, South Carolina hung in there at the beginning of the game, only gave up 57 yards on Leonard Fournette, but you got to play two halves. The second half just dominated against Carolina. Now, with that being said, they're going to go against a really good defense this week against Florida Gators. Florida's lost their quarterbacks, but I'll tell you this much: this is going to be a good game here in the swamp here in Death Valley. I mean, not the swamp. They play in Death Valley. I'm looking forward to seeing what LSU's offense can go against the Florida defense.
You know, it's interesting. This summer, Leonard Fournette shows up at the Pro Football Combine. Dr. David Elias has it every year out at Nicholls State, and ask him, who was the toughest player you went against as a freshman? He just said, I don't know about the toughest player, but he said, I tell you, was the toughest game, Florida. He said their speed, their quickness to me as a ball carrier, and he said the heat in Gainesville that night. And he said, we were exhausted. That tells me a little something about this game, that if Fournette didn't mention Alabama or Ole Miss, and he's saying the toughest game he played was against Florida, he's telling you they got a lot of athletes, really good athletes defensively on that Florida football team. And he told me this back in July. So, again, you always kind of read into what he was trying to tell me, and that the Gators are a good football team. And they have the next quarterback whisperer, so to speak, in Jim McElwain. Did a great job with Will Grier until he got suspended. It'll be actually interesting to watch what he does with Treon Harris now. Can he put the magic on him? But these games have been awfully close, similar to Saints-Falcons. It's a field goal, 4 points, and you can bet it's going to happen again.
The thing that separates this football game is going to be the quarterback play. The young man from Florida now, Harris, is going to get his opportunity. But, Mike, he can't throw the football. I'm going right. I've seen the kid play a few games. He doesn't throw the ball very well. He is a runner. He's a running back playing quarterback, and he's only if he's 5'10", I'm giving him 5'10". But you hit the nail on the head. Florida Gators will always, in the SEC, Florida will show up with a defense. They're going to have quality defensive backs. Remember before the year started, they had a little verbal conflict with DBU over LSU's DBU. They got players in the secondary. They got players up front. They get players that go to the NFL each and every season. So that's where they're going to rest everything on this game. Keep it close. Keep it a game where if Harris can play well enough and hand the ball off and maybe make a play here and there, don't turn it over, they're in this football game. But you got to play 60 minutes against the best back in college football.
The other thing, too, is, man, I hear from all these national analysts that I do shows with about wait until they play a defense with 8, 9 men up front. My thing is, man, that's what LSU been playing all year long.
Yeah.
With defenses 8, 9 men on the line of scrimmage. But this is the first game you play against a really talented defense that'll stack the box and say, you know, Harris, if you're going to beat us throwing the football. But it's going to be a game that Brandon Harris can't lose.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's got to win it, but he can't lose it for you throwing interceptions.
That's my whole take this year, in this week especially, is when they're going to go LSU, that is, you know, they got Florida. And we all know who they got to play in the next 5 weeks, you know, what teams and defense they're going to play against. But right now it's Florida. Their biggest test now starts this weekend in Florida. Ken Harris, Brandon Harris, throw the football with some authority enough that he can help with the game in a way that takes the pressure off the running game, because you are going to run the football. You know what Les Miles and them Cam Courtney going to do. They're going to run the football, Mike. They're going to run as much as they can, and they're going to hope he throws the football, but they're going to be careful with him throwing the football. Can he not turn it over, but he can still win the game for them by helping in the passing game. And I want to see what he's going to do against a good defense.
Another thing, too, is it ended the career in South Carolina of Steve Spurrier.
Yeah.
And I think if you're building the Mount Rushmore of coaches in the Southeast Conference, Steve Spurrier is on that Mount Rushmore, along with General Nealon and what he did at Tennessee. I think what Nick Saban has done at Alabama, and certainly with Bear Bryant. I think Steve Spurrier deserves to be on that. He's turned 2 programs completely around when you look at what he did at Florida before he was there and afterwards, and what he's done at South Carolina. And you know what? I think the old ball coach isn't finished yet. He didn't say, I'm retiring. He said, I'm resigning. So that tells me that Steve, somebody will ring his doorbell and he'll come back and coach again.
You know, the hard question, though, Mike, is he's in his 70s. It's hard for a guy. It happened to Joe Paterno. When you get over 70, it's really hard, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but it's hard for a 70-year-old man, even though with the accolades he had, to walk into some young man's room, house, and family and start trying to recruit him, not knowing if you're in your 70s, if you're going to stick around for a certain period of time. But I can see him. I can definitely see him going somewhere else where he's comfortable. I don't know at the big level, maybe at a smaller level where he can win a lot of games and do well, and maybe get these guys to a bowl game, but maybe not play for national championship. I'll be shocked if a major college goes after him.
One thing about Steve is he's always danced to the beat of his own drum.
That is.
And he's got a little bit of an ego, so to speak. Long before Nick Saban was the most hated man in the SEC, it was Spurrier. We'll be back with more of the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford.